It is Sipping with Sue time. I am Szu-Moy, and if you're joining us for the first time, we are live on Facebook and on YouTube, talking with real people doing real things extraordinarily. And it is Veterans Day that lands on a Friday, so I'm super excited to chat with Stephanie Gattas, Navy veteran and CEO and founder of the Pink Berets for this Veterans Day. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So cheers. What you got?
Cheers. I have Prosecco.
Oh, yeah. So you have my normal. Yeah. So it's because it's like 82 degrees outside in Texas. And I've been like traveling around everywhere. So I'm like, I can't even do red. I need to do white because it's so hot.
No kidding. No, I agree with you. Oh, I fly to Washington, D.C. next week. And I had to check the weather. And I said, okay, it's going to be high 30s, upper 40s, maybe lower 40s. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's when you break out the Pinot. But right now we're like Prosecco, a Chardonnay, I think we'll be fine.
Exactly.
82 in November for all of us Texans.
Well, we will make it work,
yeah. Exactly. So, so I'm so glad to have you on. I know we've been trying to connect for a while. Your organization does some awesome things, and we just want to talk to you about it. And happy Veterans Day. So thank you for serving.
Thank you.
So if you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself so folks can get acquainted with you.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, United States Navy veteran. I served on the USS Simon Lake. I was also at Camp Lejeune in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and then I returned home. Gosh, I want to say that really being on your program for, to talk about the Pink Berets and what we've accomplished is a fantastic opportunity. I mean, it's who I feel I've identified with at the end of the day, and that's women veterans who are, seeking some additional help.
Yeah, awesome. So you've got, so you're based in, you're nearby, you're in Bernie, and then you've got some kids, you got husband, family.
I do. I have 3 children, and I'm going to be honest, I got sidetracked because my French bulldog walked in, and he passed gas.
Oh my gosh.
So it distracted me. Cheers. So I was like,
yes, cheers to that. So fur babies, you can't help it. You can't help it.
I was like, whoo, how do I get out of being sidetracked right now? So anyhow, yes, I am a very proud mom of 3, 2 boys and a girl, and a husband. And I just, not to be cliche, but I feel very fortunate that I have such a supportive family. So yeah, I mean, they definitely make my world go round.
Awesome. I love it. So you are the CEO and the founder of the Pink Berets. So how did you come up with the idea and then take that idea, root it down to help female veterans with the invisible disabilities and the things that we go through when we were serving or have gone through when we were serving?
Yes, and thank you for asking that question. And before I continue, thank you for your service. I mean, I think that there's a lot to be said about how resilient we can be, but I think that even more so to focus on what it took for that journey to become such is important. So with the beginning of the Pink Berets, really, I tell people it came from a place of defeat. And I've said that over and over again, because that's really what it took for me to realize that I needed to find help. So in the midst of me trying to find help, what I was finding was just a number of roadblocks. And those roadblocks being that there was programs that were out there was organizations that existed, but there was nothing that I could really identify with. There was nothing that checked the box in terms of a woman veteran with PTSD who is an MST survivor who needed help identifying what her issues were, right? I knew what my problems were, but I didn't know how to work through them. I didn't know how to not be somebody who was combative or somebody who was aggressive, somebody who at every turn felt like something else was going to happen that wasn't in my favor. So in trying to seek that out, it just was a valuable lesson for me to understand that there wasn't anything in existence for us per se. There was programs out there that had resources available. And in my mind, that was like putting the cart before the horse, right? It sounds like a very Texas thing to say, by the way, but it's true. It was, okay, do you need financial assistance? Do you need housing? Do you need, all the things that somebody needs if they're in a downward spiral? They can't pay their bills. They're not making they're not making it to work. I mean, all these things, that accumulate end up becoming something greater and making something far worse for those who have not found any help. And so in the midst of that, I had what I would call an epiphany. What if I created an organization that would address specifically women's needs? It's very obvious, that we don't address the issues we have or the situations that we're in the same way that men do. And our situations are also vastly different from what the men have been through. They don't mirror one another. And when you think about the way that we serve in the military, right? And so for me, in order to understand how to change that trajectory, how to change what it looks like for us when we ask for help, was to create something on our own. And so I started to do my research, and eventually I landed on programming, some that existed but wasn't fully intended for women, and then some that I thought could help based on the experience that I had had. So I'll give you an example. I find that I am very much in a happy place when I'm cooking in the kitchen, right? I'm focused. And what happens if you're not in the present in the kitchen? I've said this quite a few times too, right? You burn your house down. Don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You can cut yourself. There's the least possible thing too is you burn the food, but the idea is that you're present. And so for me, I thought, what if we created a culinary art therapy program, right? That would really help us understand what it was like to use that as a tool. Mm-hmm. It was a very holistic approach. It wasn't anything that we thought we should approach from a medicinal standpoint more than a holistic standpoint. And we found that it was working. We found that women loved it. We found that they were gravitating to this program, and it allowed us to grow. So that was one opportunity. And then we incorporated equine therapy. We knew equine therapy based on the other program that was in existence, mostly for men. Equine therapy was something that was really helping people through their PTSD. And so I thought, okay, what if we created something centered around what women are hoping to accomplish? And so we found someone that could provide facilitated learning, which is really groundwork between the veteran and the horse. And again, we identified that that was something that was really helping these women in their journey. And so we just started the building blocks little by little. What's working? What are these women looking for? And we started creating retreats. We started creating outdoor adventures and using art as another means of healing. That's not something that hadn't been tried already. We were just going to do it differently. What can we do to get these women to come out of what they would consider their social norm and get into a space where they felt safe, seen, heard? And that's what we started to do with the Pink Berets. And really, it was a beta test of sorts, right? It was, okay, could this work? Will this work? Because I can't tell you how many times people were like, okay, Stephanie, no one's going to welcome an all women's veteran organization for PTSD and MST. Like, nobody wants to talk about that stuff. And it's like, nobody wants to talk about it. That's the problem.
We have to talk about it. Yes.
You have to talk about it, right? And if there's one thing I know I love to do is talk. Well, no, but really the idea was that we would create this space where women felt like, okay, you know that I'm going through something and you're trying to create something for me to be able to find help, and on her terms, right? Not somebody telling her, these are the things that I need you to do in order for you to find that you're going to remove these obstacles in your life. For us, it was really like, okay, what do you feel you can connect with? What do you feel will help you on your journey to healing?
Mhm.
And again, a lot of it was with the idea of it being done holistically. We didn't want women to depend on medicine.
Mhm.
Not saying that it doesn't help. We're just saying that if that's not the avenue you choose to pursue, like myself, then it's very important that you pursue an avenue that will help. It's important that you pursue activities that can help you through that process. And so that's really how we were able to build the Pink Berets. And I say we because in essence, I was just the visionary, but it really took a team of women and men to say, okay, I believe in this mission. How can we move it forward? How can we build momentum and allow for the masses to learn what it is that we're doing and why? And most importantly, why it's needed, right? Because something I heard a long time ago is that if you help the woman, you're helping an entire community. And I don't think that that could be, more wiser of a quote, just because we know what can be accomplished when women are given the opportunity to become themselves again or to rebuild that confidence. They're unstoppable, and that's what we were hoping to gain, myself included.
Yeah, well, it always takes a village. I mean, it's never just one person. It always takes a village. So kudos to
Yeah.
you and your team. And one of the unique things that I love about it is that the organization is super multifaceted with doing all of these different therapies. So you guys just came off of retreat. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh my gosh, yes. And thank you for opening the door to that, because I can tell you this retreat was unlike any other we've had in the past. And although we find that we meet some very incredible women and there's some incredible experiences, I think this one spoke to us in a way that we could not have written ourselves. We had upwards of 30 people all together. That was team included. And we had people from all over the US, but most of them were from a number of places in Texas. And we stayed out in a ranch 3 hours from San Antonio. So not too far of a trek for those that are in Texas anyway. And to watch these women come from not just all over the US, but around Texas, no one really knew each other, but maybe a couple of people. And I thought it was really interesting how they all ended up treating one another as if they had always known each other. And the interesting thing about that is you don't always find that in a large group of women, right? So finding that these women were all cheering each other on and supporting one another was pretty incredible. And I'm not saying they all got to know each other on a very personal level. Some did. But what I can tell you is that we witnessed two women who had not seen each other in 40 years.
Wow.
They had no idea. I'm telling you, they had no idea they were going to meet at this retreat. One came from Wyoming, and she's actually part of the Pink Berets team. And she was saying, oh, I hope the weather cooperates so I can make it over there. She was really excited about, joining the retreat. And then we had another young lady who was emailing, is anybody dropped from the list yet? I really want to go. I'm ready to go. Should I be, taken off the waiting list and I can attend? And this was like days before the retreat. Long story short, she ended up coming, right? We ended up adding her to the roster because somebody was ill. And so, I mean, they're looking at each other like, could it really be her? And next thing you know, they're telling us that the last time they saw each other was at one of their duty stations, but they had gone through boot camp together. They had gone through school together right after boot camp, and then they went to their first duty station. So what I found to be incredible was that all these years between them had passed, and they wondered about one another. And then they end up at this retreat, and they were hugging, they were sitting together, catching up, and promising one another they'll never let each other leave their lives again. And I thought, this is what it's about, right? We think about camaraderie, but I felt like this took camaraderie to a whole new level, and that it's possible that if you're planning on going to a retreat, it doesn't have to be a Pink Berets retreat, go, because you never know what's going to happen. And I told the ladies, I was like, this is not a happenstance. Like, God is at work here. Don't don't be offended by what I'm saying, but I truly felt the energy in the room. And I think it just established this belief system amongst our sister in arms that, there's beauty in that. There's beauty in camaraderie. There's beauty in how we are interconnected by the military, right? Like that gave us a bond that you can't just share with anyone.
No, and those military ties run super deep, long
They
and
do.
hard, long and hard. So it doesn't matter if it's been 2 years or 20 years or 40 years. I mean, it's still there no matter what. And you pick it up where you left off. So it's really nice to hear that and to see how those two young ladies had just like come across their paths.
I know.
We're meant to meet. So
yeah, I think I'm still, it felt surreal, I think in some ways, but that was just one of the beautiful things that took place, right? There's so much beauty in that retreat, and we just met some beautiful women, inside and out. And I think that really highlighted the importance of being able to bring each other together for a weekend, just to hit the reset button, if anything, but also to build new relationships. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that I got to witness that, because that's healing for me.
Oh yeah,
so.
Definitely. So I forgot to ask you before, how long have you guys been in, doing what you're doing here? When did the Pink Berets start? And then how many folks are with you guys now?
Oh, great question, because our team keeps growing, but we started in 2015. So I'd like to say we're 7 years young, right? So we said, okay, we've survived. We survived some very tricky times, especially with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
We had to shift to a virtual format. I think the way that a number of other organizations had to do, but it was still a difficult time to really access people who couldn't leave their homes. How do you reach people that are needing help? And I think that really solidified, like I said earlier, how we can adapt and overcome as people who were in the military, right? If we've been taught anything, I think that's one of the main things. But our team has now grown to, I would say, upwards of 20 people. The reason I don't know that number is because we added a couple of other people to our team this week.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
No, it is. And then we have people that are extensions of our team. We have entrepreneurs that have started their own businesses that help us from afar, or help us as an extension of their business to help support the Pink Berets. So I think it's been a blessing to just have people say, I believe in what you're doing because of what it's done for me. How can I help? Mm-hmm. The next thing you know, you've got this incredible volunteer who's boots on the ground trying to get people to learn about what we do and why we do it. Mm-hmm. But also to be able to share with someone their experience, right? They're a living, breathing example of who you can become when you get the assistance you need, right? You take someone who hasn't been socializing, who felt more comfortable being at home with the blinds closed, and now they're socializing, they're attending events, they're helping you run retreats. It's a completely different individual when you see where they started and what the programming has helped them become. And that's their authentic selves once again, right? We didn't change who they were. We just brought that out of them again. And that to me is the important aspect of what we do.
Fabulous. So who can actually enlist or become a part of your program? If they're needing help, how do they do that?
Well, they can go to www.thepinkberets.org. That is where we send people primarily, so that they can fill out an app that gives us a little bit more detailed information to help us understand what it is that we can help them with. It helps us identify what they're needing. We do not have any stipulations. If you are a post 9/11 veteran, that's great, but it doesn't mean that we're going to choose you based on when you served. If you served 60 years ago, you can come to the Pink Berets. I know that's pushing it, but I mean, we have some older veterans out there that want to connect and want to feel, like they're a part of the generations that came after. So we don't hold any stipulations in that respect, only because we want people to feel that regardless of what their experience was, we want to be able to help them through their process.
And then for the folks that want to volunteer and get involved, do they contact you guys from from the website also, and
They
how does
do.
that work? And do you have a lot of volunteer positions open?
I would say we have a few, only because we have, you know, extensions of support,
Mhm.
not only outside the Pink Berets, but in the Pink Berets, you know, some of the things that we do are pretty specific. So we have a special initiatives director. We have our creative arts director and assistant director. We just brought in a health and wellness director who's going to help us with a new phase in the Pink Berets, which is I'm excited about. So I promised I wouldn't launch what we're doing just yet. We're going to do teasers soon.
We'll get back with you on that one.
Yes, we can talk offline about it, and I think you're going to be super excited. So, yeah, but you know, the other thing too is that if we have a volunteer and we find that they are extraordinarily talented, and there's somewhere where we could utilize their skill set, then by all means volunteer. But we don't normally turn away any volunteers. It's like, you want to join us and you want to help us with events, and I always tell people, tell us what you love to do. Tell us what you love to do, because we know that's what you're going to be passionate about, right? And then if you're passionate about that, we're going to see new things happen in the Pink Berets. And I think that that's really the best way to go about it, is, you know, for us to allow people to exercise what it is that makes them uniquely them. And then we'll find that that's what makes the Pink Berets unique, is that, you know, we have a volunteer base that comes in and does what they do best.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure that we'll put in the feed, you know, the link to the website and any other information that you'd like to get out to the folks who are watching. We can always put it in the feed later on. And I want to say thank you so much again for giving me some time out of your day to talk about the Pink Berets and all the great things that you are doing with your team and helping other females just like me just get better at life and the things that we need to do to just kind of, you know, be our best selves. So thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, well, first of all, it's an honor. Thank you so much for giving me the platform to share what we do. That's super important. What else would I would like to share is just to encourage women and family members to really find the support that's necessary. No problem is too small. No problem is too large. And our organization is really focused on helping those that need it, meaning that if we can't provide the help you're looking for, we're going to connect you with an organization that can. So happy Veterans Day to all our veterans out there too.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And to you. Thank you. So what I like to do before we sign off, what I like to do with all my guests is do a just for fun speed round. So you ready to go?
Okay, let's do it.
All right. What was your favorite part about being in the Navy?
Traveling all over the place.
Yes.
Visiting different countries.
Awesome. What was your favorite country that you got to visit?
Spain.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Very
Hands
nice.
down, Spain.
Mine was Italy, but you know, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, that's a tough one right there.
I know it's tough because I mean, I spent a lot of time in Italy, so it's like that's like I think still my favorite duty assignment. Okay, so do you love bell bottoms just by chance?
I do. Absolutely. Yeah. And when I see you in person, that's exactly what I'm going to wear.
All right. Combat boots or heels?
Combat boots.
Yeah.
I like heels, but you know, at my age, you know.
No, same. My feet hurt now. There was and I don't even know because it's been so long since I've retired, but there used to be when I was that young airman and I was in my blues in pants, we could wear combat boots and everybody would call me out. Everybody, they're like, you can't wear combat boots. I'm like, check the reg. This is comfortable. I'm good. I'm not wearing those heels that I'm going to slide all over the place or trip on, or those little plastic, whatever those things were, chloroform shoes that were awful. Yeah. That in Texas would actually fall apart and melt. So no, I'm good with
no kidding. Right, we'll pass.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So biggest accomplishment that you've made?
not to sound cliche, but motherhood, big accomplishment for me. Big accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
Creating our legacy.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on again, and for all of our veterans out there. Cheers to the weekend. Thank you for all that
Cheers.
you do. For those that have gone on to our heaven above. We thank you up there, and we know that you're angels in the sky. So thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Happy Veterans Day, and then have a fantastic weekend.
Happy
Take care, you
Veterans.
guys.
Bye.